There's a photograph sitting in the archives at Palomar Observatory. April 15, 1950. A wide field survey of the northern sky. Thousands of stars. Cataloged, measured, archived. 3 months later, July 19, 1950, they photographed the same patch of sky. Every star is where it should be. September 12, 1952. Same coordinates. Same telescope. Same photographic plate emulsion. 9 stars are gone. Not dimmed. Not obscured. Gone. And here's what makes this different from every other astronomical anomaly you've ever heard about. The exposure time was 30 minutes, which means if these objects disappeared, they did it while the shutter was open. My name is irrelevant. What matters is the evidence. And the evidence in this case is a problem, because in astrophysics, stars don't vanish. Not in 30 minutes. Not in 30 years. Not in 30 million years. Not without leaving a trace. But something happened in that exposure window. Something that violated every statistical model we had about stellar behavior. And for 70 years, we've been trying to figure out what. Let's start with what we know. The Palomar Observatory Sky Survey, POSI, was one of the most ambitious projects in mid-century astronomy. Between 1949 and 1958, they photographed the entire northern sky, twice, 2 wavelengths, red and blue, nearly 900 photographic plates, each one covering 6 degrees of sky, roughly 12 times the width of the full moon. The goal was simple: create a definitive map of everything visible from Earth. Stars, galaxies, nebulae, catalog it, measure it, preserve it. Standard stuff. Except in 2016, a team of Swedish astronomers decided to do something unusual. They went back through those old plates, tens of thousands of individual images, and compared them to modern digital sky surveys, looking for transients, objects that appeared and disappeared, flares, novae, anything that changed, and they found something. Plate number, PH 1457-086203, April 15, 1950. First exposure, July 19, 1950. Second exposure, September 12, 1952. Third exposure. In that third image, 9-point sources, visible in the previous 2, were no longer there. Not faint. Absent. The researchers called it the Vanishing and Appearing Sources During a Century of Observations Project, VASCO. And this single plate became the most statistically improbable thing they found. Let's be precise about what we're dealing with. The odds of a single star vanishing from a photographic plate due to random instrumental failure, emulsion defect, or cosmic coincidence are low, but not zero. The odds of 9 stars vanishing from the same plate in the same exposure within the same 30-minute window, the VASCO team calculated it. 1 in 10 million. If it were a single object, you could explain it a dozen ways. Asteroid, satellite reflection, dust on the lens, photographic artifact. But 9 objects, arranged in no particular pattern, all disappearing simultaneously. That's not noise. That's a signature. And signatures demand explanations. So let's do what any forensic investigator does. We eliminate the possible until only the impossible remains. Hypothesis 1, instrumental error. Could the telescope have malfunctioned? Could the photographic plate have been damaged? Unlikely. The surrounding stars, hundreds of them, are perfectly preserved. Same brightness, same positions, no distortion, no blurring. If the plate was damaged, the damage would be visible. Scratches, fogging, chemical degradation. It's not. Hypothesis 2, atmospheric interference. Cloud, haze, smoke from a distant fire. Possible, except the exposure was 30 minutes long. If clouds had rolled through, you'd see trailing, elongation, partial obscuration, stars dimming gradually as the exposure progressed. You wouldn't see 9 stars cleanly erased while everything around them remained untouched. Hypothesis 3. Asteroids or satellites. Here's where it gets interesting. In 1952, there were no GPS satellites, no Starlink, no orbital debris clouds, but there were objects in the sky, high-altitude aircraft, weather balloons, early Soviet satellite tests. Could 9 reflections, caught at just a right angle, have mimicked stars on the earlier plates and then disappeared? The VASCO team considered this. And here's the problem. The objects appear in 2 separate exposures, months apart, in the exact same positions. If they were transient reflections, they'd move. Satellites don't hover. Aircraft don't return to the same coordinates with subarc-second precision. Whatever these objects were, they had to be stationary against the stellar background for months until they weren't. All right, let's assume these were real astrophysical objects. Stars, or something like stars. What could make 9 of them disappear in 30 minutes? Candidate 1, red dwarf flares. Red dwarfs, small cool stars, are known to flare. During a flare, a red dwarf can brighten by several magnitudes in minutes. Could these have been red dwarfs in their quiescent state, flaring during the 1950 exposures, then returning to baseline dimness by 1952? Plausible, except the math doesn't work. For 9 red dwarfs to flare simultaneously within the same 30-minute window, in the same 6-degree patch of sky, you'd need a coordinated trigger. And there isn't one. Flares are driven by magnetic activity. They're random, chaotic, uncorrelated, unless you're proposing that something caused 9 stars to flare at once, which brings us into speculation. Candidate 2, gravitational microlensing. Einstein predicted it. We've observed it. When a massive object, planet, brown dwarf, black hole, passes directly between us and a distant star, its gravity bends a light. The star brightens. Then, as the object moves on, the star returns to normal. Could 9 background stars have been magnified by a passing lensing object in 1950, then returned to invisibility by 1952? Beautiful idea. Except microlensing events are smooth. The brightening is gradual, symmetric, predictable. These objects appeared sharp on the plates. No distortion, no magnification profile. And again, 9 simultaneous events. You need 9 separate lensing objects moving in perfect synchrony. Unlikely doesn't cover it. Candidate 3, fast radio bursts or optical transients. In recent years, we discovered a new class of objects, ultra-short transients. Things that flare for milliseconds, seconds, minutes. Could these 9 sources have been some unknown class of optical transient, something that flared brightly enough to register on a photographic plate, then disappear forever? Maybe. But here's the catch. They appeared in 2 separate exposures, months apart. If they were transients, they'd have to flare twice at the same intensity in the same locations, and then vanish permanently. No known transient behaves like that. There's one possibility we haven't discussed, and it's the one that keeps astronomers awake at night. What if these weren't stars at all? In the decades since Palomar, we've discovered that the universe is full of things we can't see. Dark matter, black holes, rogue planets, brown dwarfs too dim to catalog. We discovered objects that reflect light without emitting it. We discovered clouds of gas that glow faintly under specific conditions, then fade. We've discovered that the space between stars is not empty. What if these 9 sources were something transient? Something reflective? A debris cloud? A gas shell? A cluster of objects illuminated by a distant, brief event, and then gone? In 2009, a team of researchers discovered something called an IR echo. A supernova explodes. Light travels outward. Centuries later, that light strikes a distant dust cloud, and the cloud glows. For a few years, then it fades. Could the 1950 images have captured 9 such echoes, scattered reflections of some ancient, distant event that had faded by 1952? It fits. Almost. Except there's no record of a triggering event. No supernova. No gamma ray burst. No cataclysmic variable in that region of sky. Just 9 points of light. And then silence. Here's what we're left with. 9 objects. Photographed twice. Gone by the 3rd exposure. No instrumental error. No atmospheric interference. No known astrophysical mechanism that explains their simultaneous disappearance. The VASCO team published their findings in 2016. They propose follow-up observations, deep imaging, spectroscopic analysis of the region. To date, no follow-up has been completed. The objects have not reappeared, and so we're left with a forensic problem. Evidence without explanation, data without narrative, a photograph of something that shouldn't be possible, and yet there it is. Plate PH 1457-086203, sitting in an archive, waiting for someone to solve it. In forensic work, there's a principle called Locard's exchange. Every contact leaves a trace. If these objects were real, if they existed even briefly, they left a trace. Somewhere in the data, somewhere in the physics. We just haven't found it yet. The universe is not required to make sense to us, but it is required to follow its own rules. And when something breaks those rules, when 9 stars vanish in 30 minutes, it's not the universe that's wrong. It's our understanding,